What if I told you that one of the world's biggest film companies saw its entire industry collapse, yet somehow came out stronger? While giants like Kodak were collapsing under the weight of digital disruption, Fujifilm refused to die. Instead, it morphed. But how did a company founded in 1934, built entirely on photographic film and chemistry, survive when the world around it moved from reels and emulsions to sensors and algorithms? This is Alt Buzz Archive. We dig deep into the stories that shape technology, culture, and innovation. Today, we're unraveling Fujifilm's impossible survival. If you love documentary storytelling that goes beyond the surface, hit that subscribe button right now. It helps us bring you more episodes like this, and trust me, you'll want to be here for what's coming next. The story begins in 1934 in the hills of Ashigara, Japan. The government-backed Fuji Photo Film Company was created with one mission: build Japan's self-sufficient photographic film industry. These early years weren't glamorous. Research labs filled with chemical vats, engineers in white coats refining emulsions, perfecting the delicate science of capturing light on celluloid. But they laid the foundation of a company obsessed with image quality. From film rolls to photographic paper to precision lenses, Fuji quietly expanded, mastering the craft of freezing moments in physical form. For decades, Fujifilm operated in the shadows of American giants, but it wasn't content to remain there. The company studied its competitors, learned from their innovations, and slowly began carving its own path. By the 1970s and 80s, Fujifilm was no longer a domestic challenger. It was a global competitor to Kodak, the undisputed king of film. And then in 1986, it made a bold, almost playful product that would define an entire era. The QuickSnap disposable camera, cheap, simple, and everywhere. From family vacations to birthday parties to beach trips, QuickSnap became a cultural phenomenon. It democratized photography in a way few products ever had. You didn't need to understand aperture or shutter speed. You just pointed, clicked, and captured life. This, along with Fuji's rising technical confidence, set the stage for innovations that would soon shake the industry to its core. In 1990, Fujifilm introduced something that changed photography forever: Velvia, a slide film with colors so bold they became legendary. For landscape photographers, Velvia wasn't just film, it was magic. Greens didn't just appear, they glowed with an almost unnatural intensity. Skies exploded with pink and orange during golden hour. Details were razor sharp, the grain was fine, and the saturation was unlike anything else on the market. Nature looked more alive than ever before, and Velvia gave Fujifilm global prestige among professionals who usually swore by Kodak's Kodachrome. But Velvia didn't just elevate Fujifilm's status in the technical sense. It showed something deeper. The company understood the emotional side of photography. They knew that images weren't just about accuracy. They were about how they made people feel. The way a photograph could transport you back to a moment, make you believe the sunset was more beautiful than it really was, or make the forest feel more vibrant than your eyes remembered. That emotional understanding would become a secret weapon later, because when digital photography arrived, Fujifilm knew exactly how to blend nostalgia with innovation, emotion with technology, in a way that very few companies could. By the mid to late 1990s, a storm was brewing. Digital sensors were improving rapidly. Film sales, once a guaranteed rock-solid business, started showing cracks. The writing was on the wall, and every executive in the imaging industry could see it. But while Kodak publicly downplayed the threat, clinging to its billion-dollar film empire, Fujifilm took a very different path. In 1998, it launched the FinePix digital camera series. These cameras weren't perfect. They weren't revolutionary, but they were a clear sign. Fujifilm wasn't going to cling to the past and hope the future would disappear. This was the turning point. Fujifilm's leadership saw something most companies didn't. Digital imaging wasn't a product shift. It was a paradigm shift. The chemistry labs that once created color films were suddenly retooled for digital research. Engineers who once mastered emulsions were now studying sensors, image processors, and the optical glass needed for digital lenses. The company was preparing for a future where film might not survive at all. And while this transformation was happening, they made another move that seemed almost contradictory. But it would prove to be genius. Ironically, Fujifilm's most iconic product of the digital era came from resurrecting something completely analog. Instax, launched in 1998. At first, it wasn't a massive hit. The world was racing toward digital, and instant film felt like a relic from a bygone age. People were excited about the promise of infinite digital photos, the ability to delete mistakes, and the convenience of never buying film again. Instax seemed outdated, expensive, and impractical. For years, it lingered in the background of Fujifilm's product lineup, a curious experiment that neither failed nor succeeded spectacularly. But 2 decades later, something extraordinary happened. In a world drowning in phone photos that disappeared into cloud storage, never to be seen again, buried under thousands of forgotten images, Instax became the antidote. It was something you could touch, a physical keepsake, a moment frozen in your hand, developing right before your eyes, imperfect and beautiful in its imperfection. The chemical reaction happening on that small square of film became a ritual, a moment of anticipation and wonder that digital photography had stripped away. Young people who had never experienced the film era suddenly craved the tangibility that their parents' generation had abandoned. While the rest of the world declared film dead, Fujifilm created a hybrid universe where instant film coexisted with digital sensors, where nostalgia met convenience, and where young consumers rediscovered the joy of physical photos. Instax didn't just survive, it exploded into one of Fujifilm's biggest modern success stories. It became a cultural movement that defied all market predictions. Teens took Instax cameras to concerts, creating instant souvenirs of their favorite moments. Couples used them at weddings, giving guests tangible memories to take home. Travelers pinned Instax prints to their walls like modern-day Polaroids, building physical mood boards of their adventures. Coffee shops became decorated with Instax collages. Social media influencers paradoxically shared photos of their Instax prints online. Fujifilm had figured out something profound. People don't just want memories stored in the abstract digital void. They want memories they can hold, touch, gift, and display. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Fujifilm's journey, make sure you subscribe to Alt Buzz Archive. We explore hidden stories, tech revolutions, and the evolution of iconic brands every single week. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the company that didn't make it. To truly understand Fujifilm's evolution, you have to compare it to Kodak, the giant that collapsed. Both companies saw film declining. Both saw digital rising. Both had the same warning signs flashing red on every quarterly report. But Kodak stayed married to its golden goose, stretching out film profits until it was too late. They invented the digital camera in 1975, yet buried the technology because they feared it would cannibalize their film sales. They hesitated. They delayed. They clung to what had always worked. Fujifilm, on the other hand, treated disruption as a signal to reinvent. It didn't wait. It acted. While Kodak spiraled into bankruptcy, filing for Chapter 11 in 2012, Fujifilm poured billions into diversification. Its deep chemical expertise, once used to perfect film emulsions, was redirected into pharmaceuticals, medical imaging systems, diagnostics, and even cosmetics. They realized their core strength wasn't film. It was chemistry, precision manufacturing, and optical science. In 2021, Fujifilm completed a massive acquisition of Hitachi's diagnostic imaging division, securing its future far beyond photography. Where Kodak froze, paralyzed by fear of change, Fujifilm adapted and won. The lesson here is brutal but clear. Legacy is not protection. Nostalgia doesn't pay the bills. Companies that survive disruption are the ones willing to destroy their own business models before someone else does. But Fujifilm didn't just survive by becoming a medical conglomerate, it redefined camera design. With the launch of the X-series mirrorless cameras in the 2010s, Fujifilm created something the market desperately needed: digital cameras with soul. These weren't cold, clinical tools. They had dials, tactile controls, film simulations that mimicked Velvia and Provia, and retro styling that looked like something out of a 1970s darkroom. And these weren't gimmicks. They tapped into the nostalgia of the film era while giving photographers cutting-edge sensors and autofocus systems. The X-series wasn't just a product, it was a statement. It told the world that Fujifilm understood photography from both sides: analog emotion and digital precision. Photographers who once shot on film found themselves drawn to Fujifilm's mirrorless bodies because they felt familiar. The shooting experience mattered. The tactile feedback mattered. The way the camera made you slow down and think about your shot, that mattered. And that blend of old and new turned the company into one of the world's most respected mirrorless brands today. While Canon and Nikon fought over autofocus speed and megapixel counts, Fujifilm quietly built a loyal community of photographers who valued craft, color science, and the art of image-making. Fujifilm's journey is a blueprint for survival in a world where technology moves brutally fast. The company didn't cling to nostalgia. It used nostalgia strategically. It didn't fear change. It prepared for it decades before it arrived. By embracing digital early, diversifying into new industries, and reimagining products like Instax and the X-series, Fujifilm proved that legacy companies can evolve without losing their identity. They didn't abandon their roots. They reinterpreted them. This isn't just the story of a camera brand. It's the story of what happens when innovation, emotion, and strategic thinking collide. Fujifilm didn't avoid the death of film. It transformed that death into a rebirth. They turned their chemistry labs into pharmaceutical research centers. They turned their optical expertise into medical imaging systems. They turned their film heritage into a mirrorless empire. And they did it all while Kodak crumbled, a cautionary tale of what happens when you refuse to adapt. And that is how a film manufacturer from 1934 survived an industry apocalypse and transformed into everything from a mirrorless innovator to a medical imaging leader. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more stories that decode technology, nostalgia, and corporate evolution, make sure you subscribe to Alt Buzz Archive. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who remembers the golden days of film. Drop a comment below. What's your favorite Fujifilm product? Did you shoot on Velvia? Do you own an Instax camera? I want to hear your stories.